Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Andy Reinhardt and Joanne Marcus. I appreciate you joining us. We are having a webinar today on the topic of what you don't know about pooled special needs trusts that could cost you and your clients. Appreciate you joining us, all the lawyers and other folks around the country. We're going to try to cover this in a way that'll be hopefully beneficial to you, something you can learn from. But I hope that all of you will feel comfortable forwarding questions. I don't have the format here, but I understand that Caitlin from Willig has given you an opportunity to post some type of question. And if so, we can do that at the end of our talk, or to make sure we don't miss the question, you can feel free to jump in. If you don't mind, I'm going to kind of introduce us. Joanne Marcus is Executive Director of Commonwealth Community Trust. And she's got 21 years of experience in handling money for injured persons. She knows our issues. When I say our issues, I mean the Willig members, our clients, injured people, whether it's personal injury cases or workers' comp cases. She knows what you can do and what you can't do in order to protect government benefits. She does things by the book, and I will call her and say, Joanne, this is what we need help with. Can you do it, or can't you do it? And I count on Joanne as an expert part of our team. And I'll mention, by the way, that I know all of you do this. We all have to have a team of experts. We'll have a Medicare expert maybe that we call. We'll have a long-term disability expert we call. We all have a team of people. And when it comes to Medicaid, we may have a Medicaid expert lawyer we call to help us draft a special needs trust if it's a private trust. But if we want to have something economical for our clients, which is often necessary, Joanne and her company, Commonwealth Community Trust, is an expert. So we're really fortunate to have Joanne here. My background is I've been a workers' comp lawyer, personal injury lawyer for way too long. What does that mean? That means that whatever those of you that are on the webinar, we do, my firm, Reinhardt Harper Davis, we do what you do. We represent injured workers. We have a lot of big cases, and I want to share some examples of some cases where the issues of special needs trust and protecting government benefits come up as we talk. But we also have medium cases. We have small cases. And the same issues as you'll see in our discussion can come up, and special needs trust can be important for even small cases as well. It might surprise you the opportunities you're missing on some of your small and medium cases to use the special needs trust, especially when you can do it in an economical fashion. So what we're talking about here today, and the focus of this is really what exactly is the problem that we're trying to address with special needs trusts. And the way that I would describe it is, someone would say, why would I need a special needs trust? Well, if you've got someone with a physical or mental incapacity and they can't handle their own money, if you've got somebody who has some practical problem because they're minors, or they don't have any family members that can be trustees of a trust or handle a client's money without a trust, then you may well need a special needs trust. That may be a vehicle that could be of help to you. And all of us have had cases with physical incapacity of our clients, whether it's a quadriplegic, paraplegic, brain injury, chronic regional pain syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder. So these are the type of physical incapacity, but you could also have a practical one, whether somebody's a minor or they just don't have a family member that could do it. And then finally, the benefit that you can get by having the money in a special needs trust can be, and we'll talk about this some more, protecting government benefits. Because oftentimes when we settle a case, we're thinking about collateral issues. We're thinking about, well, I got a comp settlement or I got a personal injury settlement, but what about the fact that my client could also be someone who could receive other benefits? Social Security disability, SSI, Medicare, Medicaid, other benefits that would, in effect, allow our client to have a larger maximum recovery than they would by just a workers' comp settlement. And we want to make sure and always be thinking, if we settle the comp case for a client and they get money, or a personal injury case for a client and they get money, then what? We don't want them to just get the money, we close our file and we move on, but we've never considered what's the impact? What is the impact of their receipt of money on other collateral benefits that they might have? So I'm going to give you a couple examples if you don't mind. And this is a case actually that Joanne and I worked on together. Not an insignificant case. We settled a case for a quadriplegic. He had moved to Florida. He lived in Florida with his mom. I'm going to call him Jimmy. It's not his real name. We're protecting the innocent here. So Jimmy, we settled this case for $3.8 million. This sounds like a lot of money. And it is a lot of money, but when you consider that he's in his late 20s, just about to turn 30, how do we protect that money in such a way that he's going to also have government benefits? So we did a number of things. First, we consulted with Medicaid experts in Florida, and we determined what do we need to do to protect government benefits for Medicaid. We also discussed with a separate Medicaid expert in Florida, if they get the money, how can we help them get home health care paid for by Medicaid? So once we understood the lay of the land in terms of Medicaid issues in Florida, and we knew that he was going to get a whole bunch of money, how do we have that money given to him in such a way that he will qualify for Medicaid? Because each of the 50 states is different. And fortunately, Joanne has clients in, I don't know if it's all 50 states.
Pretty much. We're real close.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's got many clients all around the country.
Yes.
And she has to become familiar with, through working with other lawyers or through their own work here at Commonwealth Community Trust, what are the specific Medicaid qualification rules in the state where she's handling the money so that they can comply with it. But in this particular case, we settled it for a combination of a lump sum of money and a stream of annuity payments. In that particular case, he received a whole bunch of money up front. It goes into the trust, and through the trust and some money he had paid, and immediately he bought a home, he bought a car, and then he had to have an annuity stream of payments. I'm going to say it was $3,500 a month. That money would actually come to Commonwealth Community Trust, and we would do a budget with Commonwealth Community Trust and figure out what is he going to need, what would be the appropriate annuity payment that should go into Commonwealth Community Trust. What are they going to do with the money? They're going to invest it for him within the trust. And even though he has, a lot of money in the trust as a lump sum, even though he has that stream of payments that's coming to him through the trust, he can still qualify for Medicaid. Additionally, because he's injured, disabled, and has been for a long time, he is someone who also has Social Security, disability, and Medicare. So we had to fund a Medicare set aside. We had a CMS approved Medicare set aside. For those of you familiar with that issue, we have to make sure we're considering Medicare's interest, and a large CMS Medicare set aside was funded, but that money also went through the trust. So the MSA payments, the annuity payments, would go to Commonwealth Community Trust. Then they would send it to the professional administrator. All the money is going through the trust. At the end of the day, because of utilizing Commonwealth Community Trust, we actually were able to maximize his benefits, because he now, in addition to having all this money, will have an SSDI check that's coming to him. He will have Medicaid benefits to pay for assistance with home health care. And
in the structure.
And it's in a structure paid to him. And Commonwealth Community Trust is investing the money that they're holding for him. And of course, we explained to him, because before we settled and had this done, we had our client and Joanne on the phone with our customer service people so that they could be comfortable that we knew that there were a team of people here to answer questions. And so they're handling his money. Interestingly, we consulted with numerous other full trust companies in Florida, and we found out that the service that Joanne is providing, and even though I know Joanne, I've worked with her, we put her to the test, and we found the service that they were providing was more economical, more complete than anything that was being done by any of the pooled trust companies in Florida. So that's an example of somebody who has a significant injury. That's the first example I gave of someone with a physical or mental incapacity. They couldn't handle their money. He's a quadriplegic. He can't write checks. He's living with his mom who's brain injured. So somebody had to be able to handle his resources. And we could not do this in a way that would be practically possible and also protect his government benefits. So that was a great help with Commonwealth Community Trust. So that's one example. Another example is you could have a case where somebody who is a minor or a person with no family members who can manage their money. So this is another case that Joanne and I work together, and I'll call this gentleman Billy. And Billy was tremendously brain injured. He had a lot of other problems as well. He had been in and out of jail. He couldn't read or write. He had no family members that he could count on. No one that, even if it turned out they wanted to help him and they were reliable, could get bonded. So what we did was we settled his case for a lump sum. We funded an MSA. We had all the money paid to Commonwealth Community Trust. And now, of course, Billy will, or a daughter who at least she is somebody who's more competent than Billy, but not, she wasn't financially competent, but she is a competent person. She can't be the trustee, but she can call and be a representative and help make sure that when he needs money from time to time, whether to buy a home or whatever he wants to do, he can call Commonwealth Community Trust. And in the meantime, he can qualify for his government benefits. He's getting an SSDI check, but it'll also have Medicaid to assist him with future medical needs down the road. So that's another example of somebody who, practically speaking, really had no other way to do this. Another example, and this is someone else that Joanne and I worked on too. I'll call this gentleman Alan. Alan had a fall of 40 feet. He almost died. He was in the hospital for a long time. The case was disputed. We went to a trial. We won. It was a willful misconduct defense that was raised. But years down the road, we were able to settle his case, a fairly significant amount of money. But the problem was, if we settled his case and the money was paid to Alan, even if he was competent to handle it, which we weren't sure of, he now, totally unrelated to his work injuries, was in need of a bone marrow transplant. He had a lot of health problems, and none of that was being covered by workers' comp. All that care and treatment was being taken care of by Medicaid. His monthly medical costs, we calculated, were in the neighborhood of $30,000, $40,000 a month. And we didn't know how long that would continue to last, but if that money was paid to him, even if he were to spend it, at least during the month of receipt of the money under Virginia rules, he would not be able to qualify for Medicaid. And he wanted to buy a home. So even if he was going to turn around and buy the home quickly with the money that he was getting, we would have a problem because he would not qualify for Medicaid and his bill would be exorbitant even for the 1 month of receipt. So in that case, again, Alan and his fiance and I had a long conversation with Joanne and the staff here. Could this work? How do we do this? How can you assist him in handling his money? What if he's now wants to take the money out and buy a home? And so all that money was paid into Commonwealth Community Trust. As a result of that, fortunately, the way that we would say it is he could get his cake and eat it too. And these are missed opportunities if you don't realize that. The money, no matter big or small, if it's over your state's Medicaid threshold, you're not going to qualify for Medicaid or SSI. But if you get it paid into a trust, it's managed by a trust, and they follow that state's Medicaid guidelines, as we did with Alan's case, now he can get all the care he needs and get his non-work injury problems taken care of. And so that was a very satisfactory resolution for Alan. He's been very appreciative of everything the Commonwealth Community Trust has done. So those are just some practical examples of cases that Joanne and our firm has had together. We've had many. But I'd like to talk for a minute, and I want to get Joanne involved in this. How does the Special Needs Trust resolve these issues? What is it about a Special Needs Trust? How does it work? In particular, I want to focus on, if I could, and I'll just say a few words and hand it over to you, Joanne. Obviously, we know that in every state, there are going to be rules about how much money a person can have in order to qualify for Medicaid and SSI. We also know that we need to take care of Medicare's interest. And keep in mind, if you're funding a Medicare set aside, and that money is in excess of your state threshold, even though that's in a Medicare set aside, that's going to count against your qualification for Medicaid. So the way around that is to get that MSA money also paid into the trust, and then paid not to the claimant, but to a professional administrator. So that's another vehicle for using Commonwealth Community Trust. So that's kind of an example of some of the things, some examples of some things that we've done with Joanne. And the reason for it is because we're concerned about the Medicaid rules in each of the 50 states. As I said, Joanne has clients all over the country. She works with other lawyers all around the country to make sure she's following the rules for that state. And she's very familiar with the Medicaid issues or Medicare issues, and has worked with all the major professional administrators, just like our firm has. So she's and Commonwealth Community Trust are a very important part of our team. But Joanne, I want to give you an opportunity to, I've probably talked a little bit too much, and I know you're anxious to jump in here with some of your thoughts on where we are right here.
So, well, thank you, Andy. Really appreciate the introduction and also the sharing of how critical a pooled special needs trust can be for the benefit of your clients. And we are here to enrich their quality of life. And as Andy stressed, our clients who have public benefits kind of fall into two categories, primary categories, and we're going to talk about that. The categories are means tested, which really are SSI and Medicaid, and then there's the insurance that folks are entitled to, SSDI, and then Medicare. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about SSI, because this is something that really is critical for our clients, and it's a federally funded program. So SSI, the rules and regulations are consistent throughout the United States. And so to qualify, the individual has to have a disability and be impoverished. So being impoverished is really tough, because they can have no more than $2,000 in countable resources. So that just imagine that. And then going forward, if they qualify, the maximum that they would get is $794 a month. And that $794 is intended to pay for food and shelter. And shelter covers a lot of things. It certainly covers rent or mortgage, but also electricity and gas and everything related to shelter. And then there's a whole lot of other rules that it's very important to know so that you do not jeopardize, or the trust administrator does not jeopardize the SSI payment. And so we've spent a lot of time learning those rules and studying them from the Social Security Administration. And now talking about SSDI, that is really probably, you all are probably more familiar with that in some ways, because that's for folks that have worked, and it's our government's way of providing insurance for folks that have worked a certain number of quarters and qualify because they are now disabled. And so the disability is before retirement age. And again, they would have had to work a certain number of quarters to qualify. So, and then the amount that once qualified, the amount that they get is typically more than the 794 SSI payment, but not significantly more. I mean, it's still, really, in reality, not easy to really have a life with just your SSDI. So having a special needs trust is certainly a way to enrich the quality of life for the individual. And that amount that is paid is really based on the worker and how that's calculated. So let's.
I'm going to just jump in for a
Sure.
second here about the SSDI for a second. I know that probably most of you know this, but I don't know if all of you do. In order to qualify for SSDI, you have to prove two things. One, you've been disabled from any gainful employment for a year or more. And there are definitions of how Social Security determines what is substantial gainful employment. Two, you have to have enough deposits in the system. You have to meet the 20/40 rule, 5 of the last 10 years of sufficient deposits. So for that reason, more often than not, if I think a client currently is or is going to become disabled, I tell them to file early on in a case when they have the most traumatic part of their injury, even if that means that ultimately we're more likely to have to fund a Medicare set aside because we're going to be in a Medicare threshold when we're settling the case. But SSI is a great benefit, and it's something where we want our clients to get, because as I mentioned earlier, we want our clients not to just have comp. We want them to have all the collateral benefits if possible. And I've had many clients who've settled their cases, and as a result of putting their money in a special needs trust, they have the comp settlement money, they have the SSI and Medicaid money because the money's in a trust. They also have SSDI and Medicare because the SSDI amount is not going to go over the threshold. I've even had some clients that have long-term disability money on top of that and still get all their benefits. So we don't want to leave anything on the table, so to speak. We want to supplement the benefits, but I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to supplement that, Joanne.
Well, that was very important to add, very helpful information. And, we kind of go by the Social Security Administration definition of disability, which is exactly what Andy described, not being able to be gainfully employed for at least a year and or longer, certainly to qualify for a special needs trust. And so now So now we're still like SSI and Medicaid are the two means tested government benefits. Again, cap on no more than $2,000, typically for Medicaid, but Medicaid is a federal program, but administered by the states. So for folks getting Medicaid, the rules can be different from state to state. And again, we're very, very careful to protect our clients and not jeopardize our clients' means tested benefits. So we are very attuned to the rules for each state regarding Medicaid. And it's a wonderful program, and people are extremely dependent on their Medicaid for their health. And anyone who is aged, blind, and disabled, and again, meets the financial qualifications can be approved for Medicaid when they apply. And Medicare, again, is more the health insurance program. And all who are 65 or older qualify, but then also people with a disability, and typically folks who are getting SSDI and have received SSDI for 24 months will then qualify for Medicare. And as Andy mentioned, some of our clients qualify for both Medicare, Medicaid. Sometimes Medicare can, or Medicaid will help pay for some of the costs. Medicaid will then pay for other costs. I mean, it just, they work in conjunction with each other for those folks that are fortunate enough to have both. Medicare is not a means tested program. It's really based on the disability, and for folks who are over 65 and older.
And I'm going to, if I'm interrupt with a practice pointer, there may be a couple of young attorneys on the webinar. Whenever we meet with our clients the first time, we sit down and we talk just not about the comp case, we talk about collateral benefits. I go through a long checklist. When are you going to qualify for Social Security Retirement Medicare? Are you a potential candidate for SSI and Medicaid? Are you a candidate potentially for SSDI and Medicare? Do you have a personal injury lawsuit? Do you have a medical malpractice lawsuit? Do you have a product liability lawsuit? Do you have a wrongful termination claim? Do you have a claim for public benefits, like in Virginia VRS benefits? Do you have any federal disability claims? And what are all the various collateral claims? How do they relate to each other? How do they offset? And so we're thinking at the beginning of the case about the end of the case, because we want to position our clients so that when it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, we're thinking about settlement. We're at the point where I'm having a conversation with Joanne about settlement and putting money in a trust. And I already know where my clients are going to be on these various collateral benefits, which together allow our clients to be able to potentially settle the case. So now we're at that point. Now we're at the point where we're closing the file, and happily we've had this plan from the day the client walked in the door. And now we want to do a settlement. We want to incorporate a special needs trust. So that's where I'm calling Joanne. I'm saying, how are you going to help me? What is it about what you're doing? So,
well, the joy of what we do is we are trust administrators, and as trust administrators, we have, a huge responsibility. And we've talked a lot about our responsibility for protecting, particularly means tested public benefits for folks that get those benefits. But then also we have folks that do not get means tested public benefits, but need a trust administrator because they're not able to manage the funds themselves. And there's really no trusted individual around them to take on that role. So that's something else that, you know, we're here for, and we're happy to help. The idea of a pooled special needs trust is that it's more affordable. While we do take the smaller clients and smaller trusts. Our minimum is $5,000, which is really a minimum, and we certainly have million plus clients. So all of our clients, of course, provided the same quality of service, irregardless of how much is in their trust. So again, because the funds are pooled, we have greater investing power, and all the smaller amounts kind of get pooled into this one big trust. I think of it as a large mutual fund, and it just offers more opportunities. And then, you know, your question to yourself, well, who's going to manage the funds? Who has this expertise? And we do with, and you know, and all pooled trusts have are all nonprofit organizations and have a board of directors that provide oversight and policy, you know, set policy. And we're very fortunate in how a pooled special needs trust is structured. So what are different kinds of SNTs, special needs trusts?
So let me jump in here for a second. The reason I asked Joanne to cover this topic was when we know we need a special needs trust. That's an example when, again, someone is going to get some money, but they need to qualify for government benefits. I've been doing this many years. Don't want to tell you how many years. It might sound like I'm an old lawyer, but over the years, before we had an opportunity to work with Joanne, we have had from time to time to have family members who didn't do a very good job of handling the money be the special needs trustee. We've had occasions where we've had a bank be the manager of a special needs trustee. We've had occasion where we've had a lawyer be a special needs trustee. And I'm not saying anything negative about any family members or lawyers or bankers, but realistically, if you can get a special needs trust that is a pool trust that has the benefit of money from, you know, hundreds of customers, and that keeps their costs down, and those are professional administrators, then you're not spending money with every single transaction, every phone call that is wiping out the trust, especially with a small trust. So that's why we think about the importance of it. I want Joanne to discuss what is the significance of a pooled trust, what is the significance of a charitable pooled trust, and how does what you do distinguish from other trustee opportunities that folks might be looking at?
So, Andy, you know, I can speak to the pooled trust, and certainly the concept of pooling the funds and having individual sub-accounts. So while the funds are pooled together, and right now, for us anyway, and certainly there are other pooled trust organizations out there, but we're a national organization, and we are, you know, considered, you know, a large pooled trust. We have funded over close, I think, $90 million in funded trusts. So it just changes by the day and grows by the day, and we're really only talking about funded trusts and not all the folks that have spent down their trusts or passed away. So we do a lot, and are really very, very helpful to our beneficiaries in terms of you know, providing tax information every year. We have the expertise in administering special needs trusts, and this is all that we do. This is all pooled trust. This is what we do. Whereas individual trustees, family members, it can really impact the relationship with the beneficiary, and they can be overwhelmed with the responsibility. So we certainly get the calls from the family members saying this is more than really what I can manage, or my sibling is really resentful.
So Joanne, let me ask you, let's say I've got one of the folks that they're on the webinar with us. I've got a file and I want to know if I set it up, whether it's $5,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 lump sum of money, and my client can't get it or can't handle it. I want to use your services. What is it going to cost to set it up? What are the annual fees? Just give us a rundown on those costs.
So all of our information is on our website. And that's really important to have all this information transparent for everyone to see, including yourselves and your clients. We also have mailings that we can send out, like a packet of information. So our fee schedule is front and center on our website and gets a lot of clicks. So the initial enrollment fee is $12.50, but for accounts that are under $15,000, we have a sliding fee scale. And so for those clients, it's $550. And that's just to enroll, that's to set up the trust. And then the ongoing fees are kind of divided amongst the pooled trust entity and our investment manager, the company that manages and invests the funds for us. And then there is we're the trust administrators, but there's another entity that is a trustee that kind of gets in that mix there. But total fees are under 1%.
So let me stop you right there, because to me, for those folks on the webinar, this was a game changer for me. And I'll give you an example of a file that I never could have done this without Joanne's help. Settled a case for $75,000 and had a client that actually wanted to get pretty much all of his money up front to him to pay bills. But the problem was that he had a Medicare set aside. He couldn't self-administer it. And if the money was paid straight to the professional administrator, who agreed to do it at a charitable cost, he would never qualify for Medicaid, which he needed. The MSA was $13,000, and he didn't have a tremendous amount of ongoing medical care. So that $13,000 had to go through Joanne's company and then to the professional administrator. She allowed us to do that. And as long as she got initially $5,000 up front, even though that money then was going to be dispersed to the professional administrator as a courtesy to us with our professional relationship and other willing lawyers, basically we got a freebie. I'm just going to say that. But I've had other cases with Joanne, and I'm telling you, not going to be able to do this elsewhere, where the amount of money that's going in the trust is $10,000 or $15,000. It will cost you $5,000 to pay a lawyer to draw up a special needs trust, to have a family member be the trustee. It will cost you that amount of money with a bank, plus they will have ongoing charges that will wipe out the trust in about 2 minutes. So we've done this with small trusts. I'm just saying, Joanne, you speak about it very modestly, that you will take a trust as small as $5,000. A, B, your upfront charges are not only low, but they're sliding for smaller cases, and nobody charges less than 1% on the corpus. Nobody does that. But your folks do that because you're a pool trust and you're a charitable pool trust, and you all know what you're doing. So I just think that makes commonwealth community trust in many ways kind of a hidden gem and a missed opportunity for lawyers that don't realize when you can use a pool special needs trust to save government benefits for some of your clients, save family relationships, and save your getting respectfully sued for malpractice for not taking care of all of your clients' needs. So that's a huge, I mean, you're talking about it like this is an everyday thing, and I'm just saying, no, it's not an everyday thing. So that I just wanted to interrupt you there for that, if I could. So
thank you. And again, our mentality as a nonprofit organization is really to serve the best interest of the individual. And that's always where we come from, that perspective. And, you know, we have on staff folks with master's degree in social work who are serving the clients directly. And that's the kind of staffing that we look for. Again, giving everyone the same high quality of service by professionals who really understand the needs of people who have special needs and are in this situation of needing a trust administrator. So just to share with you a little bit about, you know, the pool. So each individual sub-account is maintained separately. So all your clients' funds are maintained separately. And it's under the umbrella of one master trust. And then the process of joining is to complete our joinder agreement. And that's the document that we need to make it official. We all, you know, it's just so wonderful because each sub-account is maintained separately and all of your clients have access to that information. And on our website, there's a portal that just leads them directly to information about their specific sub-account. And then also, I'm very excited about this because this is something that we instituted. It's probably been about a year now, or maybe a little over a year, and our clients love it. So they can even make requests for disbursements through that portal and see the process. Oh, okay, we received it. It's been approved. It's in the mail. And it's just really a tremendous benefit. Now, not everyone has access to the internet, and we understand that. So those folks that don't, they can certainly always call and get information from us, but we do automatically send out statements on a regular basis. So they are receiving that information, that important financial information. So first party trust. So this is, you know, what y'all are really working with and need, and it's this kind of important information. So for self-settled first party trust, the federal statute requires that the grantor be the individual's guardian, parent, grandparent, or court. And just recently, the Social Security Administration added power of attorney, is also able to complete the joint agreement and set up the trust. So that's been a help in those kind of circumstances. The beneficiaries have to be the individuals. So it's the person's own money, typically again from a personal injury or workers' comp award, sometimes a direct inheritance or a Social Security back payment. Important first party trusts are irrevocable. So once they're set up, they're basically set up until the funds are spent down or upon the death of the beneficiary. For those folks who get Medicaid and have had Medicaid at any point in time in their lives, and even in different states, the obligation is to pay back Medicaid. upon the death of the beneficiary. So that's an important
Joanne, if I
information.
can interrupt there for a second, you're talking about some portion of money that is remaining in the pooled trust may be subject to a Medicaid lien upon the injured person's death, just by
Yes,
law.
yes.
But let me ask you about a related topic, because I've had this come up a number of times, the topic of reversion. Because I actually spoke not long ago with a potential charitable pooled trust company that thought it was a normal practice when the claimant died, Medicaid aside, that any money in the trust would revert to the trust, not to the family members. And this was a reputable, reliable, well-known, used trust company that seems to think that's okay. So those of you that are using a trust company, you want to ask about that. What is Commonwealth Community Trust position on that?
So, I mean, that is a very, very important variable. So upon the death of the beneficiary, again, by federal statute, funds get paid back to Medicaid, or they can stay within a charitable organization, like the pooled trust, a nonprofit organization. And so some pooled trusts do retain the remainder. That's not our practice.
Right. And I just point that out because that's an added benefit that you may not have thought you needed.
Right.
But if you as a lawyer are working with a trust company, that when the claimant passes, the remainder, what's ever in there, could be $500 or $5 million,
Right.
ends up going in the trust, you better have some malpractice insurance. You want to work with a company like Commonwealth Community Trust that would never do that.
Well, it's still legal to do it.
It may be legal, but it's a trap that the lawyer and the claimant needs to, or
Yes.
family needs to know about. That's all I'm saying.
That's
I mean,
correct.
if they unknowingly signed a document that said that, that's
Right.
one thing.
Right.
So-
It's definitely an very important question to ask and to know about. So what we do at CCT is we will notify Medicaid upon the death of the beneficiary. They will provide upon whichever state or states the individual has received Medicaid, and we will get detailed information about what Medicaid has dispersed on behalf of the beneficiary. And we will go ahead and pay back Medicaid. So if there's $50,000 remaining in the trust and Medicaid is owed $25,000, then the balance can go to whoever is named on our joint agreement. So it's typically a family member. And that's a very, very nice thing. Of course, for clients that don't get Medicaid, it's a non-issue. The funds would then go to whomever is named on our joint agreement. CCT does not retain the funds.
So let me just say, Joanne, before we go on to the balance of our topic, if there's some questions in the audience, and I know you can't speak up, but Caitlin, I know you've been receiving questions possibly. I don't want to miss the opportunity to answer questions from any folks in the audience. I don't know how we do this, but
yeah, I haven't seen any questions pop up yet, but if anybody has any, there's a Q&A function down at the bottom of the screen.
Sure, folks
or
are
the
aware of
chat.
the Q&A function on the bottom that they can utilize. So let me ask you, Joanne, for just a minute about how does someone fund a pooled special needs trust, and how is Commonwealth Community Trust unique in how they do all this? Go ahead.
So we already talked about the favorable remainder policy, but our responsibility, well, how you fund it is a lot of what Andy's already described. It can be funded as a lump sum payment, can be funded as a structure, or again, we also offer the MSA, where the MSA portion of the individual's settlement is nested within the PSNT and then dispersed to a firm that really administers MSAs. That's not our area of expertise. So we kind of are a pass through. But the good news is that because the funds come into the pooled special needs trust, it's not a countable resource. And people can then qualify for benefits.
So as a practice pointer, when you're drawing up your workers' comp settlement papers and getting an order like in Virginia, and I'm sure other states are very similar, you have a settlement order that's approved by the commission. The money needs to be paid, as we do in Virginia, directly to the claimant if it's not a trust situation, or in some states directly to the lawyer to disperse. But whether it's being dispersed from the lawyer's office or from the insurance company to the claimant, in the case of a pool trust or the need for a special needs trust, we want to make sure that order says the money is payable to, in this case, Commonwealth Community Trust or a special needs trust for the benefit of claimant. Because if it gets paid to the claimant directly, and then that claimant strokes a check and gives it to Commonwealth Community Trust, first of all, I'm not sure how well they'll do with that. I'm not sure what kind of delay there'll be, but they certainly will have some period of time at a minimum when they will not qualify for government benefits, and you're liable to have a catastrophe. Similarly, again, the Medicare set-aside money should go through the trust, so that money would be payable to Commonwealth Community Trust or another trustee for the benefit of claimant to be then paid as required by the commission order to the professional administrator, and then they take it from there.
Right. We also have a resource for you all on our website under the attorney section. And you can just go to the attorney section and see a sample court order. And certainly call us and get us involved in the beginning, because that's what we're here for. We have attorney on staff, and I have tons of experience also to help you through the process, and just make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed as it relates to what happens going forward. It's just really important, and we offer support for we've just worked with so many attorneys all over the country, and we're very fortunate in that way. And they know to just pick up the phone or shoot us an email or go to our website and get the answers, because the website is very user friendly, and we're happy to help.
So a couple what I've had a tour of your facilities. I've seen what you folks do here, but injured workers or their lawyers are going to say, so what about the customer service? How does that work? Who are the teams of people that answer questions? Who are the people that process payments? Claimant calls up, claimant family member calls up. Who are they going to speak to? How are we going to be sure that if I'm closing my file and I'm effectively handing my client off to you, that they're going to be taken care of? Who takes care of? It used to be my law firm's problem. Now this client is your problem. How do you handle that?
Sure. So like we answer the phone when you call, we answer the phone when the prospect calls, or we'll talk with you as we have with Andy. We'll have conference calls and really help your client understand who we are and what we do. And then once they actually are enrolled with us, either the beneficiary can be their own advocate or there's someone else in that role. Very often a family member or a case manager, a trusted friend. I mean, it just varies from situation to situation. And so they call, we always answer the phone. We are staffed with, as I said, professional master's degree social workers. Our client services team is really impressive, and they come with a lot of experience and expertise in working with families and people with special needs. So we're always here to help and support and provide information and answer questions.
So what about, clients ask this all the time, will they invest my money? How will they invest my money? What kind of return am I going to get on my money? I mean, how do I benefit from the pool and what can I expect? You know, you're going to get, I'll just pick a number, $50,000, $100,000. Is that going to cover my cost of you holding the money? What do you anticipate? How do you answer those questions?
So again, well, just again, looking at what you see on the screen right now, I just want to kind of share with you that this is the information that you would see on our website. There's the process of joining, there's the attorney checklist, there's the joint agreement, there's the fee schedule. When I talk about transparency, there's a court order, there's the disbursement information manual, that's a book, which, I mean, it just, you know, what can I use my trust on? What is the process? What do I have to do to get my money? And then there's also, or get something paid for by the trust. And we explain it all, we explain it in writing, we explain it verbally. And then there's investment information, which is Andy is asking about now. And again, it's all in writing. So we've moved just recently to a portfolio that offers 3 options. And some people might go into cash, depending upon their needs. Some people might go into the most conservative investment group pool, and some would go to you know, conservative with more middle of the road, and then moderate. So there's, you know, 3 levels of investment opportunity, and that's dependent upon how much money is in the trust, the rate of spending, future spending, the health of the beneficiary, because if someone is you know, not, you know, in dire health situation, we're not taking, you know, they're not going to go into the moderate spending category. But someone with millions plus dollars would want to be in the moderate spending category. So we're really, you know, I think offering just the best options for people to, you know, have and this is all, again, falling under the umbrella of the board of directors and our investment committee comprised of experts in this area. They all have these wonderful initials after their names, and they do this as a volunteers.
And I know you take the fiduciary obligation of being a trustee very seriously. And yes. I've told our clients, they ask this question, some of you may get this question, how do I get my money? How do I know I'm going to get it when I need it? And a way that I described it is, well, if you had to call and ask for it, at least you know you're calling your mom. Because she won't always say yes, but you know that she has your best interest at heart. I feel like that's what the folks here do, and I appreciate that. But in any event, here's what I would say, Joanne. We've worked together on so many files that I have incredible confidence with you, and I've handled more cases than I can count. And I strongly encourage folks to think about the fact that there are probably missed opportunities, not just in working with Common Community Trust, but in generally speaking, making sure that you protected all of your clients' government benefits, making sure that you have considered all the collateral resources that are available to maximize your client's recovery, and making sure that you have a complete team of experts that you work with, be they long-term disability, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security experts, public benefit experts, as well as folks that understand Medicaid and special needs trust to maximize not just the small, but the big cases and in between. So thank you very much for spending an an hour this afternoon with us. We wish you the best of luck. And if you have any questions, please give us a call. So thank you very much. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Caitlin.
Thank you.